Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Continuing on with college football week 8. Got an ACC matchup here, Miami, Louisville. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, Canes are on the road here. Louisville's catching, looks like 4.5. I see a 4 and I see a 5. So anywhere in between 4 and 5. That's what Louisville's catching at home here. Total sitting at 61 or 61.5, depending on your sports book. Let's take a quick look at the pie charts. And according to this data, action's coming in heavy on the Miami side. Over 85% of the tickets, over 85% of the money on the Canes. But as I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's get into this matchup, and we'll start with the Miami offense against the Louisville defense. And Louisville defense has been a little disappointing. We'll talk about it in a second. We'll start with the Miami offense, which has been as explosive as any offense in college football. They're just 7th in OFEI. I don't know how they're not higher than that. Look at the passing numbers. 4th in yards per pass attempt, 5th in success rate per dropback, 2nd in effective pass. They're 2nd in the country in yards per play, 3rd in overall offensive success rate. We've yet to see this Miami offense get stopped. I haven't even seen it slowed down. I mean, they've been cruising. Now, Louisville is coming off a really good game defensively on the road at UVA. Virginia's got Calandria, a quarterback. They could definitely throw the ball. And I know you see, Kyle, they give up 301 passing yards in that game. Just 6.5 yards per attempt, 34% success rate per dropback. Calandria dropped back to pass 45 times in the game. So holding them to just 301 yards with that many dropbacks, it's not bad at all. What worries me for Louisville's defense is their last 2 home games, they got absolutely cooked. Georgia Tech and SMU, in those 2 games, their last 2 home games, gave up over 301 passing yards per game. 55.8% success rate per dropback is terrible. Over 10 yards per pass attempt. Now, Georgia Tech and SMU are very good offenses. We're talking about Miami here. I'd make a strong argument that Miami's offense is better than both these teams. Not to take anything away from them. Georgia Tech and SMU are some powerful offenses, but Miami might have the most dangerous passing attack in all of college football. And we're talking about a Louisville defense that got cooked their last 2 home games through the air. The Hurricanes' offense on the season is averaging 400 passing yards per game. The whole season, averaging 400 passing yards per game, 52.8% success rate per dropback on the season, 10.38 yards per pass attempt. They've been electric. And if this was a couple weeks ago, you could say, hey, Kyle, Miami hasn't really played any defenses yet. And yeah, that's true. I mean, Florida, Ball State, South Florida, Florida A&M, that's who they opened up the season with. Last couple of games, they played Virginia Tech, who, look, not a defensive program, but that defense is okay. Cal, they're sitting at 26th in DFEI. That defense looks pretty good. Look, I understand it's not Clemson, it's not Alabama, but they played a couple defenses, and they cooked them all. I mean, no one has been able to slow down this Miami passing attack. I will say this Louisville defense should be a step up from Virginia Tech and Cal, but like I said, this Louisville defense has been a bit disappointing. The pass rush is going to be there. That's one thing you have to give to Louisville. This will be probably the toughest pass, not probably, this will be the toughest pass rush Miami's seen so far. So there's something to give to the Cards here. On the season, Louisville sitting at 17th in pressure rate, 39th in sack rate. So the pass rush is going to be there, but Cam Ward's done a really good job handling pressure so far this year. He's been really creative, really innovative. Pretty solid numbers when pressured. Obviously, when given a clean pocket, he's about as good as it gets in college football. So maybe that's an angle. You're thinking Louisville's pass rush is going to be the one to knock Miami's passing attack off its groove. I personally am not seeing it. And check this out. Louisville's supposed to have this dynamite defensive front. Nobody's supposed to be able to run the ball in Louisville, right? In their last 3 games against Notre Dame, SMU, and Virginia, they're allowing 4.6 yards per carry, 42.5% success rate per rush, 152.7 rushing yards per game. So the Louisville run defense, which is supposed to be the backbone of the team, hasn't even looked that great. Look, I'm not trying to bash Louisville or anything. I'm just saying, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, this defense doesn't look anything like we were expecting it to look. And the Miami offense, yes, it's known for Cam Ward in the passing attack. They've been running the ball too. In their last 2 games against Vatech and Cal, 4.66 yards per carry, 56.8% success rate per rush. That's crazy. 151.5 rushing yards per game. So the idea that Miami could go on the road into Louisville and run the football If we had this conversation 3 weeks ago, I'd be like, no way. But based on what we've seen recently, Miami's getting the run game going, and Louisville struggling to stop the run against teams like Cal, Virginia Tech. I mean, Virginia Tech and Notre Dame, okay, but this Miami offense is looking pretty explosive. And if you're worried about this being a road game for the Canes offense, look what happened in Louisville's last home game. SMU came into that stadium and smoked them. 50.8% success rate, 7.6 yards per play. SMU went into Louisville and averaged 7.6 yards per play, put up 34 points, beat them outright. So, I don't know if we should just sell all our stock in the Louisville defense, but something doesn't look right. But what about the other side? Let's talk about the Cards offense against the Canes defense, and everything's looking pretty good across the board. And you know what? For all the criticism I just gave the Louisville's defense, the offense looks good. They're 15th in the country in yards per play, 48th in success rate, 21st in PPA. Passing numbers look pretty great here. 12th in yards per pass attempt, 54th in success rate per dropback, 22nd in effective pass. They're sitting at 16th in OFEI. I will say that this Louisville offense definitely racked up a lot of stats in their first 2 games against Austin Peay and Jacksonville State. In those 2 games, averaging almost 55.5 points per game, over 57% success rate. In their last 4 games against Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, SMU, and Virginia, I mean, the numbers don't look nearly as impressive. 26.5 points per game is okay, but success rate below 40%. 6.48 yards per play actually still looks good, but just wanted to point out that Louisville racked up a ton of offensive stats in those first 2 games against bad teams. And as far as the Miami defense goes, you can kind of say the same thing to an extent. In the first 4 games, they were allowing just 10.3 points per game, 31% success rate, 3.87 yards per play. Florida, South Florida, Ball State, Florida A&M. Florida and South Florida, that's impressive. Those are 2 decent offenses. The other 2, not so much. So yeah, Miami's defense looked elite for 4 games. In their last 2 games, we do see the numbers coming up. They're allowing 36 points per game in their last 2 against Virginia Tech and Cal. 6.76 yards per play. Success rate down below 37%. Indicative of a couple big plays skewing these numbers. I still have faith in this Miami defense, but I understand based on the last couple games if you don't. This pass rush is still elite. They're 2nd in the country in pressure rate, 3rd in pass rush win rate, 8th in pass rush grade. Louisville's offensive line has been struggling this year, 85th in pressure rate allowed, 88th in hurry rate allowed. So that Miami pass rush is coming. Tyler Shuck has done a decent job with the pressure, though, about the same numbers as Cam Ward. So I'm not saying Miami's pass rush is going to completely throw Tyler Shuck off his game, but I do think it's important to point out that the only defense Louisville has seen this year that's comparable to Miami's talent-wise is Notre Dame. And in that game, Louisville could not really throw the ball. Just 27.3% success rate per dropback. That's not good. 6.4 yards per attempt. So the only time Tyler Shuck saw an elite defense, he was struggling to throw the ball. That being said, that was on the road in South Bend. In his last 2 home games, they had no problem throwing the ball. 11.8 yards per pass attempt, 50.2% success rate per dropback, almost 300 passing yards per game against Georgia Tech and SMU. Georgia Tech, not a good pass defense. I mean, neither of these SMU's actually got a decent defensive front. Neither are comparable to Miami or Notre Dame, though. Not to mention, this Miami defense has been really good on the road so far this year, and they've played some offenses at Florida, at South Florida, at Cal. That's 3 decent offenses. They're allowing just 23.3 points per game in these 3 road games. 35% opponent success rate is very good. So I trust this Miami defense on the road. I think the last 2 games, the final scores aren't really indicative of how those games went. I think this Miami defense might be a little undervalued right now, which is why I think the public has this one right. Everyone's hammering Miami. I think they're going to win by a touchdown plus, so it'll be Miami -4 for me. I haven't bet this one yet. A little worried about how square it is. I would imagine everyone in the world is betting Miami here, but I don't really like the way this Louisville defense has looked. I don't trust it to make stops against Miami. I think the Canes win by a touchdown plus, Miami -4. If you want to see all the bets I have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone on the staff here. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 cash, and one of these trophies go to the winner every single week. So if you're interested, head over to the website and sign up. Let's have ourselves a nice college football week 8 coming off. Finally, a good college football Saturday for me. Hopefully that continues. Please remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you in the Discord.